Welcome everyone. Happy Sunday. I'm the Grace Strega and I'm here to give you your daily collective read for today, Sunday, December 1st, 2024. What do we have coming through in the cards for today? May I please have the first two cards in our 5-card spread. First two cards we are starting our day off with today are Page of Wands in its reversal in combination with our 10 of Wands in its upright. New moon energy, my friends, new moon energy. Now, I want to stress here, a lot of this work that we see that is occurring, and this is the combination of force that we're recognizing right now between the Mercury retrograde, so a lot of that slowing down, as we have that new moon in Sagittarius. Now, new Sagittarius energy is very much pathwork of determination, right? It's just moving forward. Whatever it takes is all it takes, right? Whatever it takes, it's all it energetically takes, because that sense, right? The Sagittarian energy being the effective workhorse of the astrological chart to a certain extent. We see even now that a lot of that work facilitating forward in that way. What do we see is happening with this energy? It's difficult, because the energy is effectively learning how to distribute a load to a certain extent as it relates to making something energetically easier, right? So we've been working through this process. First step we recognized as it relates to some of that energy that we experienced as we were walking into this Mercury retrograde period, having had the dual effect of the Taurus moon in Scorpio, didn't want to be there, uncomfortable, navigating uncomfortable truths, working into that even higher energetic lesson of Pluto moving into Aquarius from Capricorn, being energetically adaptable as it relates to how you handle things that are more difficult, right? Things that are things that aren't necessarily clear, right? A lot of that work here. So what do we see that's happening right now with this new moon in Sagittarius? We see, and then all of this work that we've been experiencing in the retrograde has been the recognition and the understanding of the energetic obstacle, right? Why do we understand an energetic obstacle? Why did I mention, as we were articulating upon this, the beauty and the value and the significance of remembering, not allowing oneself to be frustrated when you recognize an obstacle, but remembering that the first step in overcoming an obstacle has to be the identification of it. So we see even now a lot of this energy is utilizing that and taking that and breaking through with it, letting that be the energetic breakthrough point. And even here, this is difficult. There's a lot of this work that we're effectively seeing. So everything that we're identifying and recognizing right now, so much of this work is what's facilitating upon and recognizing and identifying what's it going to take to navigate through those obstacles. This is having a different impact depending on where you find yourselves on the frequency cycles. For masculine and feminine energy, deep within divine union, one of the things that we see even now is some of this work has to be in being able to identify and articulate how one is energetically feeling, right? It's hard. It's difficult. It requires a lot of that work. So that ability of expressing upon one's own needs, right? The ability of identifying and feeling the energetic difficulty point so that another can help. One of the things that we see that is happening right now for energy deep within divine union is wanting to shoulder too much of the burden, right? This is a lot of energy right now that is healing from those spaces and places, those internal wounds that make it difficult to ask for energetic help. While for masculine and feminine energy that we see even now coming into divine union, one of the things that we're identifying has to do with the recognition of what it feels like to move into divine union as opposed to what one may have thought it would feel like. We've been talking about this for several days now. That ability of seeing and feeling the work. This is either feeling like a lot of inner child healing for some, and for others, that feeling of closure with the past. Why do we see that occurring right now? because that sense or that space of feeling the sense of coming into divine union, being one that is articulated upon the ability to like lift a heavy thing, right? Lifting the heavy thing is being able to prioritize what that partnership is. So even here, this is the energy that is feeling the paradoxical nature of partnership, where it feels both light and heavy, because it makes everything energetically easier. But it feels like from the outside, it would almost feel like a burden, right? It's like that burden that lightens as you carry it, because it is the feeling of not having to shoulder that burden entirely upon one's own self. And the appreciation, the respect I see that is occurring right now for the energy coming into partnership is the recognition or the feeling of moving forward with someone that is equally, I don't want to say equally committing to shouldering that energetic burden. This is some deep commitment that we see right now that is occurring with some of this new moon energy, a continuation of that deepening of commitment that we saw with the Taurus Scorpio, like the Taurus full moon Scorpio cycle. Because that ability of recognizing and identifying, I see even now, this is the energy that potentially during the Taurus full moon, that may have been the expression of the feeling. And this is now the word being brought into action. This is the energy making those changes. This is the energy feeling the appreciation of being able to take something that they said to one another and bringing it into fruition. That is that feeling of, again, it's the progress, right? And there's a maturation that's occurring here in the process. Now, for masculine and feminine energy that is in separation, so much of this work that we're effectively identifying right now may be articulated upon, I'm just seeing here for a lot of energy right now, closure. Closure and closure. But of that closure that we're seeing, what's so beautiful about it, this is the closure point in the recognition and the identification of allowing for new energetic cycles to start, right? Like, look at this. Do you like this is such beautiful new moon energy to a certain extent, because this is the recognition of identifying and recognizing the feeling of being able to put the work into partnership as opposed to just being able to articulate upon it. And even here, I see a lot of these new energetic connections are forming specifically and particularly by potentially looking back at the past with those optics, right? Like, I can even see some energy right now in separation. Baby's basically saying to a certain extent, like, yeah, I'm walking away from something because it wasn't an equal distribution of energetic weight. Right? And that doesn't need to be perfect, right? It doesn't need to be perfect, but that feeling of recognition, of sharing the same priorities, that can feel like navigating the same energetic weight. That feeling of shouldering the prioritization of the partnership, that can be feeling like the recognition of sharing the energetic weight. And so a lot of this work, I'm seeing two different modalities of energy right now in separation, which is either the energy in separation articulating and saying to someone, yes, those experiences from the past, we wanted different things. We were moving in different directions. I can see that now, even if it wasn't articulated like vocally. Or this is energy that is looking at experiences from the past and saying, I would have liked to move forward with someone, but they were requiring me to carry too much of the burden, right? The sensation or the space of having to carry the weight of keeping an energetic connection together. I see a lot of energy saying I couldn't shoulder that burden alone, and someone was articulating or faulting me because I wasn't able to hold something up for them, right? So we see even now, like, a lot of that recognition, a lot of closure and new path work that's happening right now via the recognition that a healthy energetic connection is one that shoulders that responsibility, prioritizes in that way together. Third card in our 5-card spread for today is King of Wands in its reversal. A lot of wand energy right now. Now, masculine and feminine energy deep within divine union, right? Like for the energy right now in separation, I see even now one of the challenges I want to bring up, and we're just going to talk about this because I see a lot of this wand energy in its reversal. Don't be assuming anything right now. Don't assume, right? Because that space or that path work of assumption, this always sometimes gets a little confounded when we're navigating the retrograde periods. I'm never surprised to see wands energies coming up in its reversal during retrogrades, because it has to do with communication, right? It has to do with progress. A lot of that work and feeling things slowing down, right? We were talking a lot about this. Like when you slow something down, it can feel very energetically difficult. And I see even now that for the energy in separation, there's something about the stillness of this retrograde that feels a little bit like a release or a relief. Why? Because everything is subjective. And when we saw all of the volatility that was occurring prior to coming into this retrograde cycle, the combination force of the Taurus full moon in Scorpio, which was like very volatile, and then also the transition of Pluto from Capricorn into Aquarius, a little bit of this slowdown, it may be feeling like welcome, right? It may be giving oneself a little bit of breathing room to a certain extent. So this is what we see that the energy is doing right now, taking, not allowing oneself to be frustrated when things go slower, right? Being like, oh, I'll take this opportunity, if you will. Now, for masculine and feminine energy in separation, so much of this work that we're seeing at this time has to do, and this is where I see, this is the hurdle. I have to stress this, and this is frustrating to me to see right now for energy in separation, which is the energy in separation that desires the same things right now. They're moving towards each other with a massive amount of trepidation. Why? Because there's a lot of energy, and this is masculine and feminine right now, that are healing from modalities where someone's words didn't match their action. It's easy to say that one desires something. It's an entirely different thing to show the ability to recognize the work that it energetically takes to get there. And that's why I see even now, like these energies are like there's new starts that are occurring here, but they're slow. They are so slow because this is the energy that has found themselves in healing, and they like and they don't like where they are, right? They like where they are. They like where they energetically are, right? And they don't want to lose the ground that they have had in their own healing journey by moving too quickly towards someone that's going to move them back into some of the same energetic lessons. So that's why we see even now this energy, it's so frustrating because the healed energy moves towards each other even slower because they're not in that space of just like letting the chips fall where they may. They're trying to be very conscientious as to the difference between someone's words, what someone says they desire, versus what they're able to maintain as it relates to like articulating the work that it actually takes. While for masculine and feminine energy right now that is coming into divine union, a lot of this work that we're seeing right now in relationality to coming into divine union, this is the energy that's saying, I just keep hearing the same message for the energy coming into divine union, which is I did not expect it to feel this way. Didn't expect it to feel this way. Didn't expect it to feel this way. But a lot of that effectively, like I see even now, this does feel akin to a breakthrough, because this is the energy that, like, do you see this adaptability? They're looking at the past version of self and being like, that person didn't have their head on straight, right? Because even here, this is that egoic shedding that I told you that is occurring here. The prioritization is such that when you're moving to a certain extent, you just kind of like, the things that don't feel like they serve you, you kind of let them go. And the things that you used to hold precious, they aren't as energetically precious. So I see even now, this is the combination of energy that's moving together to a certain degree. And in that space, in that power or that magnitude of it, this is the energy that is carrying that burden together. So I see even now, this this is the tangible movement into potentially commitments that were articulated upon during that Taurus full moon cycle. While for masculine and feminine deep within divine union right now, this is efficiencies. This is the closing out of cycle. Like, the reason you close out energetic cycles is so you can start new ones. And I see even now a lot of that energy just looking for efficiencies right now so that they can free up their hands to take on new energetic burdens, right? The reason we become efficient isn't because we want to do less. It's because we want to do more, right? Fourth and fifth card in our 5-card spreads for today are, we have here, oh, I love it right now. 10, okay, we're going to talk about it. 10, I love it. And I pull the second card. The 10 of Cups in its upright in combination with the Lover's card in its reversal. You can't please everybody all the time. Can't please everybody all the time. Can't please everybody all the time, right? All you can do is everything you can do, recognizing that even when you're doing your energetic best, someone's going to have a problem with it. And I see even now, this is the gift that the energy in divine union is giving to one another, right? Just recognizing and saying that to one another. It's hard, right? Especially when you're trying to move in that vector of compassion, trying to navigate in that way, it can feel frustrating. But even there, we see and recognize that so much of that work that we're amplifying upon, this is what allows for that sense or that space. Like, this is how the energy is providing clarity. Because if there's something about, and we were talking about this yesterday, if there was something about the energy around a partnership right now, navigating someone else's ego in a way that feels like it's fragile, right? Working through that context. This is the energy that's fact-checking to one another. Being like, am I missing something here? Am I not seeing something that I shouldn't see? Because this is the energy that looks towards something and provides that sense or that space of clarity to one another, right? And even in that modality, like helping to identify and understand that, the message I hear that is coming back to the energy in separation, that's fact-checking something in that way, like looking towards someone and saying, can you check my ego? I've checked my ego. I think the ego looks okay. Can you check the ego? This is the energy saying, like, yeah, your ego looks fine. This is what it potentially looks like, right? Like, this is that discernment or that refinement being put to good use. But this isn't being critical of other people. This is the energy that questions the self as it relates to being critical to other people, right? While for masculine and feminine coming into divine union, so much of this work that we see coming into divine union at this time, this is the energy that is amplifying and articulating upon the difference between what something felt like, what they expected something to feel like, versus like boots on the ground, right? Like I hear the energy being like, we're not in Kansas anymore, because like that sense or that space of like looking at something at the energetic fantasy, right? A manifestation looks really pretty, right? It looks really pretty on the outside. You don't have to think about all the bells or the whistles or the heavy work that it takes to navigate through a manifestation goal. So I see even now that for a lot of that energy, this new moon energy, it feels clarifying, because this is the energy that's coming into divine union that is identifying the difference in terms of what something looks like versus what something feels like, right? And when you're in a perfect partnership, it feels like you're in a messy partnership. It feels like you're constantly picking up. It feels like you're constantly doing that work, because that's how it looks energetically perfect. You take care of it, right? While for masculine and feminine energy, I hear some energy in separation being like, yeah, they wanted me to take care of it all the time. They wanted me to provide them with a perfect partnership. And when it didn't become perfect, that person left, right? When it didn't become perfect, that person departed. Like, this is the energy either being like, these are the energies that are navigating and articulating the past and being like, yeah, if someone was saying to me, I have to leave because this partnership isn't perfect, this is the energy that was saying, yeah, they wanted to walk into a perfect partnership, but they didn't understand that you don't walk into perfection. You create it with your two hands. While we see even now that for some of that energy here, this is the energy that, again, I see this push and pull that's happening right now, for some of the energy that's forming these new energetic connections. But it's not, I want to say, it's not sparks flying. These are energies that are moving towards each other. Like heavy knitting is what I'm getting, right? Like it's like I see the energy like almost approaching each other with like so much conscientiousness, because there's so much fear in moving, in repeating the energetic lessons of the past, that this is the energy that is being very careful and mindful to one another as they create something, because this is the energy saying, I don't want to inflict the same harm upon you that I myself experienced from the past. Continuing to clarify between our Page of Wands in its reversal in combination with our Ten of Wands in its upright. One card to clarify, please. Clarification coming through right now with our, look at all these wands out today. Five of Wands. This is hard. I see a lot of the energy right now. I got to stress this. There's a lot of energy in separation that's just downright mad about the past, right? And some of it, I want to say masculine and feminine, it is a little bit different. Bearing in mind, this is not based on gender, but what it feels most aligned to. Masculine, I'm going to say this again. I'm going to say this abundantly. If you've got notes for the past version of self, that's a blessing. If you got notes on the past version of self, that is a blessing, because you're looking back at the past version of self. And in the moment you look back and say, I see something I would do different now, you are no longer that person. I know it's heavy, but congratulations. Because it's that moment of pain that heals us. So I see even now a lot of that conscientiousness and care that's occurring here. It's difficult, right? Because it's happening on the internal vector. For feminine, I see that this is a lot of the feminine energy holding these boundaries and feeling difficult in holding boundaries. And the feminine almost apologizing for those boundaries. But what is the feminine experiencing from the healed masculine? This is the healed masculine that looks to the feminine holding energetic boundaries and saying, your standards are not a burden. I recognize and understand why they are there. I'm sorry that they're too, because I know that those standards are effectively often built upon energetic wisdom, right? So these are the energies that are recognizing one another in that space of feeling the difficulty of wanting to move closer quicker, but holding back to a certain degree because they care about one another. While for masculine and feminine coming into divine union right now, a lot of this work that we're seeing, this is that amplification point, or this is that articulation of recognizing the work it takes. And this is the energy that understands that smooth sailing usually looks smooth from a distance. Usually it's navigating choppy seas, right? Everything looks smooth from a distance. When you're actually there doing the work, it's a lot different. So we see even now, like this is the energy I keep getting, like the orientation of feeling disoriented as they come into healthy partnership, because it's that constant work, right? This is the energy getting their sea legs and being in a healthy relationship. While for masculine and feminine energy, deep within divine union, this is a lot of energy trying to fact check their own egos. If this is something where masculine or feminine feels frustrated, being able to articulate to another and say, am I validated in that? Why is this energy doing that? Because this isn't the energy that says I have a right to. This is the energy that looks towards counterpart and says, am I right here? Is this okay? Is this like working through that? Because this is the energy that heals via the healthy counterpart, that knows that the healthy counterpart will check them if something that they're doing comes more from a space of their ego than their own self. Continuing to get clarification between our Ten of Wands in combination with our King of Wands in its reversal. One card to clarify, please. Clarification coming through. This energy right now, man, it's frustrating. We've got our Eight of Swords here. I'm going to say it again. It's a retrograde. It's going to be frustrating. It's going to be frustrating. You're going to get tired of saying it's a retrograde because it's a retrograde. Often when we navigate retrograde energy, we have to navigate frustration. But it's in the navigation of frustration that we have breakthroughs, right? You have to identify a hurdle before you can overcome it. So we see even now that ability of doing so is what's allowing for those breakthroughs to occur. Continuing to clarify, and I think across, and this is happening across all of the frequencies, just across all of the frequencies. While for continuing to get clarification between our King of Wands in its reversal in combination with our Ten of Cups in its upright. May I please have one card to clarify? Clarification coming through right now with the Sun card in its reversal. Now, one of the things that we want to talk about right now that I think is really important has to do with the recognition and the identification of what it takes as it relates to this vector of, I want to say, navigating sadness. Like we've got this sun card here in its reversal. And this sun card, it's frustrating, right? Because when we have to navigate something in that way, it can be difficult. Like it can be energetically burdensome. It can be energetically frustrating. But something about working through that frustration point, something about navigating that frustration, we're going to say it again, when the retrograde is not here to just knock you out of your groove. The retrograde is here to identify the difference between a groove and a rut. What is the difference between a groove and a rut? Having to do something differently. When you go back to it, well, congratulations, that's a groove. That's what works for you. That's what you want to move back into. When you come out of something and then you do something differently, that can be an enlightenment moment. That can be like, oh, you know what? Like, actually, yeah, that kind of worked. I didn't recognize it. It's the acquired taste. And in order to feel an acquired taste, sometimes you got to deal with something that you don't like the taste of, right? Right? It's like, wait, it's a little bit of that type of energy. And again, even here, this is having a different impact across the frequencies. For a lot of this energy right now in separation, I feel like some of these connections that are forming have to do with working through some of that gripe, right? This is energy that may be griping about the energetic past, but this isn't, and I want to point this out, this isn't griping. This isn't talking badly upon someone. This isn't casting blame on someone. This is the energy that feels the frustration in trying to work through something with someone, and despite one's best efforts, right? I hear a lot of this energy saying to one another, despite my best efforts, right? Despite my best efforts to try to come into a space of positivity. And this is where I hear the energy in separation saying to themselves, you can't force someone to heal that doesn't want to heal. You can't want to move someone into a manifestation that does not want to move into a manifestation. A lot of that work and like feeling that, this is the energy that comes towards each other from a place of consolation and conciliation. And this isn't the energy that is grieving for the past. This is the energy that's kind of brushing themselves off, right? Brushing the dirt off of themselves and saying, let's proceed, right? Because when we're on a pathwork of purpose, right, there is no energetic failure. Energetic failure is just the story of how many times you failed before you succeeded. Continuing to get clarification, coming into divine union right now, I see even now that this is the energy that's navigating, working through. I want to say this is energy that's saying that the energy coming into divine union are starting to see that side of each other that they don't show everyone, right? Seeing that space, the part of yourself you don't really show. Like this is again, it's new moon, that dark side of the moon, being able to navigate those spaces. What do we see that the energy is saying to one another? I love, and even if these are the parts of the self that someone says, I don't like people seeing me when I'm like this. I see energy saying, I love you in every phase that I find you in, right? Because that is the modality of love. The modality of love does not require us to be perfect. The modality of love is one that we strive for perfection. And when we find one another in that space, we say to one another, you don't need to be energetically bright all the time. I love you in all of your phases. While for a lot of this energy deep within divine union right now, I feel like a little bit of that sense or that space of like navigating the energetic hurdle and feeling the frustration. I see the energy being like, am I valid in feeling energetically frustrated? And someone being like, sure, right? This is the energy or correction here. This could be some energy saying, I actually see, I think that that's a little bit of your ego there, right? Because that's the gift that we give each other within divine union. We check each other. We check each other, right? We check our own egos against each other to say, am I in the wrong here? Am I in the wrong? Do I feel validated? And so I see even now there's a little bit of that energetic checking. Continuing to get clarification between our Ten of Cups in combination with our Lover's card in its reversal. One card to clarify, please. Clarification coming through right now with our King of Swords in its upright. For masculine and feminine energy right now, deep within divine union. This sense or this space, operating in that context, this is how the energies make determination points. This is how the energy is coming into that space of efficiency. It's by navigating the frustration, right? How do you overcome an obstacle? You don't avoid it, you face it. So we see even now a lot of that energy facilitating upon that work and having breakthroughs in the process. And for masculine and feminine, and this is a little bit, again, a lot of masculine energy we've seen in the readings the last few days. So much of this work that we're effectively seeing, this is the recognition point in identifying and recognizing what feels like what is adaptable to versus what feels like one is able to adjust upon. So some of this work has to do with recognizing and identifying how to heal. For masculine, I see even now, this is finding the ability of the power of their own words. That ability of doing so, that ability of recognizing, I see even now, this is the masculine saying to feminine, I appreciate you because I can articulate upon what I need. And that ability of doing so, it doesn't require that sense of having to read between the lines. For feminine, I see even now that this is the feminine that also works with masculine to articulate those needs. The difficulty or the hurdle that is achieved not by just like articulating the sadness one feels, but what one feels is fundamental or achievable in being able to change. While for masculine and feminine energy coming into the divine union frequency, a lot of this work that we see is having to do with identifying how much one has changed in the process of coming into energetic union. Because even here, so much of this work that we see has to do with working through what that process is. And if these are the energies, I see even now, I see two different modalities of energy coming deep, going deeper into union right now. These are either the spaces or places of energy that is coming into union, that is recognizing how much they have changed in the process of building towards one another. And that's really beautiful even here, because I see even now that for a lot of the pathwork of the masculine doing that, again, bearing in mind this is not based on gender, but what it feels most aligned to. That ability of coming towards feminine from a place of integrity. I almost see like some of the masculine energy, like we said, working through that vector of saying, my gift to the feminine is my energetic integrity. When I'm able to bring integrity to feminine, I create that safe space for the feminine. Whereas feminine, again, that same lesson we're seeing towards masculine, the feminine saying, when I don't just when I just don't speak from a place of how I feel, but I make that feeling operational, I make that feeling tangible for masculine. We see even now that this is the energy that facilitates upon that feeling of restoration. So these are the energies that are coming into divine union, and they're celebrating themselves in the process, because in the process of coming into union, they're moving closer to their desired aspiration of who do they desire to be internally. While for masculine and feminine energy in separation right now, so much of this energy in separation, I'm just seeing, is acting upon and facilitating upon what that work is. Because for masculine and feminine energy right now, in separation, that I see even now, this is a lot of that energy that is articulating to one another and saying, rest assured, I'm not waiting for something. Rest assured, I'm not in a space of waiting. I'm not looking back because I'm waiting for something to get energetically fixed. I see a lot of the energy saying, I'm looking back because the information that I am able to derive from appearing and receiving from the past is reaffirming my own energetic commitment to the present. And this is why we see even now the reason these energies want to move towards each other, but they're moving more slowly, is because they're building into that space of trust by identifying and recognizing the integrity as to what brings them into separation. Now, continuing to find clarification between our Five of Wands in combination with our Eight of Swords in its upright. One card to clarify, please. clarification coming through right now with our Page of Cups and it's upright. So I want to say, the one thing I want to say is there's a little bit, this is hard energy, but this is also like, you know, like the crack where the light gets in kind of energy, right? This is navigating the difficulty and then having some kind of energetic breakthrough. It's feeling that vitality towards something even here. So I see even now that facilitating upon that work, this is what's allowing the energy, and I see even now, this is the energy that's building confidence with one another as they do so. Because even through, and I see, and it is that different impact that's occurring right now. Masculine articulating upon the differences in what they would desire to achieve in the past versus where they find themselves. Feminine almost saying to masculine, you know, it's not your responsibility to energetically fix everything. That's something that we have to do together. And that's like the masculine feeling the release and relief of the feminine that understands that that is a journey that they share together. While for masculine, if this is feminine apologizing for their standards and masculine saying, why are you apologizing for your energetic standards? This is again that feeling of relief, because these are the energies that say, I'm not coming towards you desiring you to fill a role. I'm embracing who you are and your authenticity. And that authenticity is the integrity that is communicated upon in being able to recognize what the comfortability point is of the potential energetic counterpart. So a lot of new connections that are forming at this time. While for masculine and feminine coming deeper into divine union at this time, a lot of this work that I'm seeing for the energy coming into divine union specifically has to do with recognizing and identifying, and again, appreciation. This is the energy that's that's appreciating how far they have come. And I see even now that identifying and feeling the weight of that work, it is different for masculine and feminine. For masculine, this feels more like a maturation process. But this is the masculine, again, the Sagittarius new moon saying, bring it on. I want that weight. I can take it. I'm ready. I'm strong enough to take that energetic weight upon. And for the feminine, seeing masculine that isn't running from a burden, but running to help the feminine carry the energetic burden. This is the feminine feeling the celebration of the release and the relief of a masculine whose words match their actions. While for masculine and feminine deep within divine union right now, I feel like that sense of appreciation, this is the energy that says to each other, if it's hard, it's because you care. If you're frustrated, it's because it's important. This is how we check one another's egos. It doesn't mean that we can't be frustrated. It's making sure that you feel validated in what you're frustrated about. Continuing to get clarification between our Eight of Swords and its upright in combination with our Sun card in its reversal. One card to clarify, please. Two cards coming out to clarify. So we have, oh my gosh, and what two cards we have here? We have here our Empress in its upright and our Emperor in its reversal. Now for masculine and feminine energy today, you know, I want to say this feels, it's a little bit more difficult. It's having, this work is having a different impact. Today, and we've seen this, the last couple of days may have been a little bit more difficult in relationality to identifying and recognizing what feels energetically supportive, right? Recognizing and identifying what feels energetically healthy. So we see even now that for so much of this work, this is what the amplification is. This sense or space of masculine, I see even now, that ability of doing so, this is the masculine that I want to say is navigating a lot of those energetic hurdles as it relates potentially even to other connection with masculine energy. Right? A lot of this work, this is the masculine that I see even now, and it has to do with the communication of emotions, being able to stand in the integrity of it. This is the masculine that's like healing in a massive degree as it relates to experiences of the past in the process, because this is the masculine energy that is innovating upon what those anxiety points were, right? What those difficulties were. While for feminine energy right now, a lot of this work that we're seeing for feminine at this time, this is the feminine energy that is working upon and feeling that sense of energetic security towards the masculine. Because we see even now that for both of these energies, facilitating upon this work, identifying and recognizing what that is, this is the feminine that, again, these are the counterparts that come towards each other by being supportive of one another. And that easement point, if you will, It is the articulation of saying to each other when we care about one another, we don't need to be in our sense of perfection at every moment, because the ability of the counterpart to step in and arrive as we need them to, this is what creates that sense or that space of feeling energetic protection. While for masculine and feminine energy right now coming into divine union, a lot of this work that we are recognizing right now, a lot of this work that we're facilitating upon, this is the energy right now that is coming into union, and the feeling of coming into union feels very different. For masculine, this is potentially looking at the past version of self in the past and saying that that amplification of where one was prioritizing, that was the differentiation in terms of what you thought it may have felt like versus what it actually energetically takes. And so we see even now that that ability of conscientiousness, it's almost like the energy that feels protective, right? Feels the fragility of an energetic connection that is articulated upon that sensitivity. Because this is the masculine that recognizes that bravery isn't when we move forward with a state of confidence. It's when we're questioning ourselves every step of the way. So we see even now that a lot of that energy facilitating upon that work, this is the recognition point that allows for that state or that space of the masculine of finding strength, of finding bravery, because they're moving towards the feminine from a place of energetic trust. While for feminine, seeing masculine that is able to let their guard down, right? Not the feminine that's putting up those walls, but building into that space of intimacy. This is the feminine coming into that space of, again, deeper appreciation of the masculine, because this is the feminine seeing the masculine doing that work to love. And it's not just because it's convenient, it's because the feminine understands that this is the masculine that understands that love is work, because it challenges us every step of the way. While for masculine and feminine energy right now, in separation, so much of this work that we're seeing and is worked upon has to do you see these new counterpart connections that are occurring right now? Same work that's occurring. Masculine trying to approach feminine by being their authentic self. Feminine building those energetic standards and that they recognize will be celebrated by the counterpart that is for them. This is how the healing begins. So a massive amount of healing right now that's happening, occurring over this particular cycle that is amplified and articulated by the energy in separation, appreciating how far they've come. While for masculine, continuing to get clarification right now between our Sun card in its reversal in combination with our King of Swords, one card to clarify, clarification coming through right now with our Eight of Cups in its reversal. Closure comes in many forms, and one of the closures that we're seeing that is occurring right now is a lot of that energy right now, I say, closure comes in many forms, and one of the closures that we're seeing that is occurring right now is a lot of that energy right now, I say, in feeling the vitality and the affirmation of recognizing and identifying. Closure comes in many forms, and sometimes recognizing how far you have changed, how much you have changed, that is the amplification of how far you've come. And so I see even now a lot of that energy, feeling that expression point of saying to oneself, I can't go back to that past because I'm no longer of that past, because I'm no longer the person that occupied that past. This is a lot of the energy coming into a lot of that healing, and it's a quiet door. While for masculine and feminine energy coming into divine union right now, so much of this energy coming into divine union at this time, I just see it is the amplification of the energy, feeling the difference of what they thought it might feel like, but not hesitating for an instant in relationality to the excitement in terms of where they're going to go. While for masculine and feminine energy right now, deep within divine union, a lot of this work that we're recognizing and identifying has to do in the realm and the reality of feeling that sense of, I want to say, energetic purpose. It is the energetic purpose that is amplified in the recognition point of facilitating upon that sense or space of feeling and this is what I want to describe. This is for a lot of the energy deep within divine union right now. This is the overcoming of a hurdle, right? This is that moment when something is difficult, like identifying what the hurdle is immediately allows for that easement point, because I see even now, like this is the energy that that creates that space of saying there isn't something that we can't solve so long as we understand the energetic nature of it. So in a way, when we discover those obstacles, it becomes a blessing, if you will. Continuing to get clarification here between our Page of Cups in combination with our Empress card, in combination with our Emperor in its reversal. May I please have one card to clarify? Clarification coming through right now with our Strength card in its reversal. Masculine and feminine energy right now in deep within divine union. That feeling of intimacy, that feeling of love, that feeling of energetic power, if you will. This I see even now, this recognition point of identifying and allowing for that state of easement. This is the energy deep within divine union that gives each other, this is the articulation of love and saying to someone, I love you because you make something easy, right? And what do we mean by that? When we say I love you because it's easy to love you, that doesn't mean I love you because it's easy to love you because you don't have any energetic standards. It doesn't mean I love you because you're just like a doormat, right? No, it means I love you because it's easy means that we work together. We do the hardest thing, which is we recognize that the power of love is one that we try to make things easier for one another. So that sense or that space of working in that capacity, these are the energies that are healing, particularly and especially, even deep within divine union right now, from those experiences in the past where someone just wanted something easier, right? There's a difference between just wanting something easier versus that sense or space of making something easier for each other. So we see even now, this is the work of navigating with the counterparts. And some of it could even be in that space. I told you, having to navigate energy outside of partnership, building into that context of adaptability. And this is the amplification of recognizing and identifying that sense or that space of energetic accommodation insofar as working through and facilitating upon what what that breakthrough point is, how to make something energetically easier, and then immediately feeling the release and the relief, because this is the energy that says to one another, it's okay, I've got it. Right? It's literally counterpart energy today. While for masculine and feminine energy right now coming into divine union, this is the energy that's coming into divine union and healing from the past in the process, right? And for masculine, again, it feels more like that sense of energetic maturation, because this is the masculine energy that feels that beauty and that harmony of building forth with feminine, right? That beautiful place where coming towards feminine in such a way that when you're able to be adaptable, anything is possible. I see a lot of the masculine coming into divine union saying, I was holding on too tightly in the past. I wanted things the way that I desired them to be. And when we want something only the way we want them to be, what we really do is we limit the possibility of what could occur, right? That rigidness, that firmness, that frustration, that argumentation we create, it moves us further from what we desire instead of closer to it. So I see even now a lot of that masculine energy coming into divine union saying, I didn't expect it to feel this way, but what they're really saying is, I didn't expect to feel this way, because this is the energy that says, I'm ready because I understand it now. While for feminine energy, seeing the masculine that understands this, seeing the masculine that says, my power isn't in the sense of feeling like I have to control every aspect of everything, but that sense of the masculine building in a way of saying to the feminine, I am co-creating with you. Our joy is shared, right? That sense or that space of prioritizing what that shared joy is. This is the energy of the feminine that also feels the security as it relates to what they're moving towards in divine union, because I see even now a lot of that energy is feeling the release and relief as it relates to seeing and recognizing the masculine that's willing to do that work. And it's not just words, they're putting it into tangible action. While for energy and separation right now, this is what I see with some of that hurdle. It's easy to say that one desires something, whole different thing to show the ability to move towards it. It's easy. Fantasies are fantasies because there's no pain in a fantasy. There's no difficulty in a fantasy. Recognizing and being and wanting the burden of like all the joy, all the difficulty. This is the energy that's moving. Look at these counterparts, potentially finding new energetic connections here, but they're moving towards each other so cautiously because they're also, and this is what I'm going to say again, don't assume that the past is repeating itself. Don't assume anything during the retrogrades, right? Allow for that modality of something else that is occurring. Continuing to get clarity between our Emperor card in its reversal, our Empress in its upright, and our Eight of Cups in its reversal. May I please have one card to clarify? Clarification coming through right now with our Star card in its reversal. Now, this is a little bit of those hurdles. This is the energy, feeling the challenge of the self in the process of building towards healthy, energetic partnership. You see, even now, I want to say masculine and feminine energy right now are very balanced. All of these cards here are very much in balance, but the difficulty is doing some of this work right now. It is having a different impact on the energies. Bearing in mind, this is not based on gender, but what it feels most aligned to. For masculine, it has to do more with being able to articulate. It has to do more with feeling like working through that space of inspiration or working through that space of passion. For feminine, it has to do with trusting one's own self, right? Trusting one's own ability of being one's authentic sense of self. But what's beautiful about this right now, and I want to point this out, even for the energy and separation, this is where some of that retrograde's coming through. Because I see even now that there's energy trying to build into new energetic connections. But the past is like that's the past that feels like it's kind of, causing that sense of frustration, right? This is feminine energy that's healing because this is the feminine energy almost setting those standards because this is the feminine saying, my adaptability is a gift. I would prefer not, I would wish I could move towards you with more confidence, but I've been hurt in the past by those who took advantage of my vulnerability, of my openness. So there's a lot of that feminine energy that's almost trying to communicate to masculine and separation, saying, rest assured, there is vulnerability there, right? It's like the hard shell that's got the candy inside, like the soft inside. This is the feminine saying, I want you. And masculine, what's masculine saying? Masculine says, I know. Masculine saying, I know, trust me, I know. I know what it feels like to want to move towards someone, but feeling that limitation or that hurdle or that anxiety. This is how the energies are connecting to one another. Because even in the feminine, in the masculine saying, I'm trying to be more authentic, it's hard because I'm worried about having my feelings hurt. What's feminine saying? I know, trust me, I know. You're doing the work that I do every day. When feminine says, it's hard because I would love to, but I'm trying to be careful. This is masculine going, I know, trust me, I know, I do that every day. So this is the harmony of the discord. This is the discordant note that feels harmony because the recognition of doing something that feels counterintuitive is how the energy is healing. And it's the amplification of understanding the pathwork of the counterpart because you're sharing their energetic burden. While for masculine and feminine energy right now coming into divine union, a lot of this work that we're seeing and recognizing right now coming into divine union, this is the energy that is recognizing and identifying, if you will, like what this feels like. And it feels very different than they may have anticipated. For masculine, like again, both of these energies working, this is the ego, right? This is working on the difficulty of the ego. Feminine, same message that we saw that masculine's having coming into divine union. Feminine saying, when I don't force the shape of something, I leave the possibility of what it feels like for anything to occur, right? So this is a very balanced message right now because feminine's having the same thing. Feminine saying, when I let go of perfect, right? I allow the good in. Perfection is an illusion. Good is perfection. So we see even now that that's the sense or the space of the feminine healing, because even in the sense of allowing for other people and saying, you don't have to be perfect, then the minute they say that, feminine says, and neither do I, right? While for masculine and feminine energy deep within divine union, this is more of that same work. And if this is the energy that's hard on themselves, this is the energy, the counterpart that says to one another, you're hard on yourself because you care. You're hard on yourself because you care. You work through something because it's important. And so even now, this is, what do we see that's happening with feminine? Feminine going, I'm not strong enough, right? And what's masculine saying to feminine? You're getting stronger every day, right? What's masculine saying to feminine? You know, I doubt my own ability. I doubt my own ability. And feminine says, you know, I'm like, this is almost masculine saying, I'm not energetically perfect. I'm not energetically perfect. And this is feminine saying to masculine, your job is not to be perfect. Our job is not to be perfect. It's to move towards perfection. Final card for today's spread, between our strength card in its reversal in combination with our star card in its reversal. One card, final card to clarify. We've got here our Queen of Swords in its upright. And I like to see this here. Look at this. We've got the combination here of the King of Swords and the Queen of Swords. So a lot of this work that we're seeing even now, it is the facilitation point and the recognition of feeling that sense of energetic support. It's in that moment or in that modality that one feels strength, that feels energetically supported. This is the energy that like overcomes the obstacle. And for some of the energy right now, this is the obstacle of the self, right? For some of the energy deep within divine union right now, this is feeling that sense of energetic confidence via the counterpart that says, I see, like trust what I see, right? And in those moments of someone saying, I'm doubting myself, and someone saying, trust what I see, we are reminded of who we energetically are, right? For masculine and feminine coming into divine union, this is a lot of that energy coming into divine union that is amplifying and articulating upon the recognition of feeling that. I see some energy coming into divine union going, we're really doing this, right? We're really doing this. And this is the masculine going, yeah, I'm strong enough now. I'm energetically ready. And this is the masculine putting the words to the action. And for feminine, this is the feminine saying, I energetically trust you. I am also ready. I'm allowing my emotions and my ability to articulate upon the emotions to guide me forward. And for masculine and feminine energy right now, in separation, so much of this work that I see even now for the energy in separation is amplified and articulated upon the recognition of, this is the energy, I want to say, I just see these new energetic connections forming in separation. And this is the energy in separation saying to themselves, I'm ready. But this is, I need to stress this, this is the energy saying, I'm ready, not because they fully healed from the past, but because they've integrated it. Because this is the energy says, I'm ready, because they're looking back at the past, but they're not just looking back at the past and having notes on the person, the people in the past. They've got notes on their self in the past, right? This is energy looking back at the past version of self, being like, I'm not that person anymore. And so even here, this is the energy that's feeling the confidence in moving forward, because it's the amplification and recognition via the new energetic connections that shows them how far they've come. Bottom of the deck on this reading right now, we've got here our Six of Cups in its upright. More of that same work that we're seeing, that, and this is why things are moving more slowly right now. Because a lot of this work that we see that is being facilitated right now has to do with the recognition and the identification of that sense or space of energetically healing, right? That is hard work is what we see, because that sense or that space of navigating the quality and characteristics of an energetic connection. This is how we rebuild trust, because that sense or space of doing so, building into that conscientiousness, building into that discernment, working through a lot of that path work. We see even now that for a lot of the energy navigating in that way, that ability of doing so, this is the energy that isn't allowing the shadow of the past to override the future. This isn't the energy of the past that's carrying the wounds from the past into the future. This is the energy that is looking towards the past, navigating those energetic lessons, and then utilizing them as tools of discernment to build the healthy connections as it relates to the pathwork going forward. For masculine and feminine energy, this is a little bit of that same feeling of like getting up, brushing yourself off, beginning again, right? Because this is the energy that reaffirms their own commitment, even if those connections in the past weren't perfect, saying that does not mean that every connection will be that way. That means that I'm moving closer towards, I'm being more discerning as it relates to what feels like it is healthy versus what feels like it's not. And in that sense, or that space of identifying and recognizing that work, this is the energy that gives each other the space and place, because they're both doing that work in similar ways, right? The space and the conscientiousness is the articulation of care. While for masculine and feminine coming into divine union right now, this is the energy that's feeling that sense of coming into partnership, but at the same time, they're building that sense of appreciation and how much they have healed that's allowing some of these breakthroughs to occur. While for masculine and feminine energy right now, deep within divine union, we see even now that for a lot of the energy deep within divine union right now, it's more of that same feeling that we see, which is you can please some people some of the time. You can please everybody a portion of the time, but you can't please everybody all of the time. That sense or that space of recognizing that you can only heal what desires to be healed. We see even now, like a lot of that work that's being facilitated here. It's frustrating because something about that frustration point, this is why if there's anything during this retrograde that frustrates, it's trying to meet that sense of validation to be able to build upon having those energetic breakthroughs. That is our daily collective read for today. I want to thank you guys so much for being here and experiencing it. Just a reminder, if you would like to book a private reading with me, you can book one on my website, graystrega.com. My private readings are done over video, and if you are a subscriber to my TikTok, you can take 10% off any of my services when you pay. Just mention your subscriber name at the point of payment. Please keep in mind, if you book a private reading with me, it is a two-step process. You have to book the reading, you have to pay for the reading. Please make sure you do both if you'd like to have that reading. Most importantly, please remember that I will never, ever, 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 ever reach out to you for a personal reading. I will never DM you. I will never PM you. I will never slide into your inbox and tell you that I have a very important message that only I can deliver. The only way you can book a reading with me is if you book one on my website. So I encourage you to do it there. Also, a couple of updates before we move into personal readings today. First and foremost, thank you to everyone who attended our recent class on the Chariot. Our next class will be held on Wednesday, December 18th at 6 p.m. PST, 9 p.m. Eastern. We will be continuing our studies into the tarot with a focus on the Strength card. If you would like to become a part of our live class program, all you need to do is head over to my Substack, graystrega.substack.com. Your paid subscription to my Substack is your ticket of entry into our live classes each and every month. You'll also have access to when you become a subscriber, the full library of recordings and course materials for our previous classes. So if you're just joining us for the first time, you'll have ample opportunity to catch up with your subscription. Even if you can't catch up for our next class, it's not necessary to catch up. I will be giving recaps on everything we've studied in every class. You'll also have access to a one-on-one chat with me and the other students to ask any questions that you may have in relation to anything that we've learned or are learning thus far. And if you become a founding member to my Substack, not only will you receive a discount on the full year's worth of classes, but you will also receive a complimentary one-on-one mentorship class with me, wherein I will assess where you are on your own personal tarot journey and give you the best insights in terms of how to utilize those classes to the best of your advantage going forward to meet your own personal tarot goals. One of the things I tried to do in these classes was make them accessible to the absolute novice tarot reader as well as the seasoned reader. There's definitely something there for everyone. So I want to thank you if you're just joining us there for the first time. And I look forward to potentially seeing you at our next class. And even if you don't become, and if you are a subscriber to my TikTok, I would encourage you to head over to our subscriber only gift Discord channel, because there you will find a very special coupon code that will give you an additional discount on that Substack subscription. And also, even if you don't become a paid subscriber to my Substack, I would encourage you to follow me there to stay up to date on any new offerings and services. I also post my weekly newsletter there, which will let you know about my in-person events as well as my online live schedule. Also, we will be announcing the winner of our November giveaway this week. So make sure that you're headed over there if you've entered to find out if you've won. Finally, I want to let you guys know that on top of mentorship, on top of my standard life path readings, I also offer mentorship classes. These are classes that are focused specifically for my clients that are seeking a more personalized educational experience with me. I take a very limited number of students for this reason. Those classes are focused upon whatever area of personal growth or spiritual development you are most invested in learning more about. They can be purchased on an individual level or as a monthly class series. That is 4 45-minute classes, weekly or bi-weekly as your schedule permits. Also, for my clients that are seeking more consistent weekly tarot support, I'm very happy to offer weekly tarot insight packages. That is a package of 4 30-minute readings, weekly or bi-weekly as your schedule permits, so that you can stay more consistent on your own personal journey. I want to thank you guys so much for being here today and sharing in these messages, and we will do this again tomorrow.